With me now, staff writer for The Federalist, Bree Payton, and attorney and Democratic strategist, Gretchen von Helms. Bree, Gretchen, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Gretchen, let me start with you. First of all, I want to start with the judge in Hawaii, Judge Derek Watson. He blocked Trump's new travel ban, Muslim ban 2.0 is what Democrats are calling it. Explain to me how the ruling in Hawaii differs from the ruling we saw this morning in Maryland.
Well, the ruling in Hawaii is a temporary block to the implementation of that travel restriction, basically saying, wait, let's get to the bottom of the facts here, because we have a plaintiff who is a PhD, who's a doctor from one of the banned countries. He needs to travel back and forth to Hawaii. It impacts the state of Hawaii because they need this person for their purposes there in Hawaii. So he's a plaintiff, but they want to get to the actual facts regarding whether or not he falls through one of those exceptions. So the second travel ban has a host of exceptions of when people can come in, even if they're from one of those bloc countries.
Right.
And if they have continuous contact, if they've
been here before, essentially.
Right, if they have U.S. relatives. So there's a whole series of exceptions. It's almost like a spaghetti strainer, right? It doesn't hold and block the water like a bowl. You get to go through it if you meet the requirements. And so this one is actually, the Hawaii judge just took a temporary pause, if you will, before they let that order go into effect to kind of find out more facts. There's an expedited hearing set.
Right, and I think the strange thing is I understand that they want to see if this plaintiff is going to be discriminated against. He should, if you look at the order, he should fall into one of those exceptions. His travel should not be restricted, in my opinion, based off of his prior residency or his prior admittance into our nation here. But the judge, Derek Watson, again from Hawaii, I mean, he talked about the fact that people's families wouldn't be able to visit. And again, there's exceptions to that. Bree, let me turn to you. I mean, Donald Trump said, you heard in that video at the beginning of the segment, he said this was judicial overreach, that this judge doesn't agree with his policy politically, and so looked for reasons to try to stop this ban. What do you make of this?
Right, I think Donald Trump is absolutely right in this instance. Both of the judges cited Donald Trump's campaign rhetoric on the campaign trail and comments that he said about Muslims on the campaign trail as evidence as why this is unconstitutional, right? They're not taking objection to portions of the actual executive order itself, but rather they don't like Trump personally and they don't like things that he said on the campaign trail, and they're trying to punish him for that.
That is absolutely untrue. What these
are
federal district court judges,
they said.
These federal district court judges looked at the law, they looked at the requirements, they issued a restraint on it. They said, hey, let's look at this more closely. They did not say we don't like Trump, we're Democrats. They did not say that. They exercised their proper authority as federal judges to look at the facts, and the one judge in Hawaii wanted to see more evidence, so he issued a temporary restraining.
Right, and if I may, let me jump in here just for a moment.
I would say that.
Right, let me jump in here just for a moment, and let me show you what the judge actually said. The judge said that the president does not have the authority to deny visas to people based off of nationality, and that's the part that's questionable here, because the president, under Supreme Court ruling, actually does have the authority to create immigration policy here. What the judge also said, he said the state of Hawaii had established, his words, a strong likelihood of success on their claim of religious discrimination. Bree, and I think this is where you and I are sitting here saying, where is that evidence?
Right, you're exactly right. And so if I could, thank you. So both of the judges cited comments that Donald Trump has made in the past. They said, in both cases, they said that, you can't discriminate someone based on their nationality or based on, their race or their religion or things like that. But nothing in the executive order actually discriminates people based on any of those things, right? So their objection to it very clearly falls short of the burden that they are supposed to meet. And so Liz and I are saying it's very clear that they are overstepping their role as judges, and they are going after him personally because
they're not going after
they
Mr.
aren't
Trump
using the
personally.
criteria. They're not using the
order.
criteria that they're supposed to
right,
use.
And Gretchen, let me phrase it to you like this, Gretchen, because this is very interesting. You and I spoke for a moment before the segment on this, but when you're looking at someone's intent here, both judges did in fact cite Donald Trump's comments that he made to Rudy Giuliani several months ago during his campaign about wanting to find a legal way to ban Muslims. I think we all, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we all find that to be objectionable. That's not what the law is. But part of the reason that we're a nation of laws here, not a nation of individuals, is because the law restrains people when they want to do things that are not in line with our Constitution. I think that's what we're seeing in this case. The law is restricting Donald Trump to follow the law, to put his policy in place via the law. And if you only look at things that he said in the past, I mean, would that disqualify him from ever making any policy whatsoever on immigration because the judge doesn't believe that his heart is in the right place some years ago?
Right, good question. And that's exactly what Judge Watson said in the Hawaii case. He said, I'm not saying this is forever. What I want to do is look at the actual facts behind that. I want testimony. I want to have evidence. It appears now that you can look to see whether the judge had religious animus, not the judge, President Trump had religious animus. You can look outside for the evidence based on his comments. So let's say someone who ends up killing his wife 3 months earlier said, I want to kill my wife. You get to look at those comments to see what his intent was when his wife ends up dead. This is what the judges are looking at now. They're looking back at those comments, and Judge Watson was very clear to say that is not the be-all, end-all. That's what I see right now. We're just going to pause this order going into effect so we can look at actual hard evidence. So
right, but and I guess my question is, what are they going to look at here? What are they going to look at? They already know that they don't like Donald Trump's comments. If they're going to disqualify any executive order that has to do with immigration, that has to do with any nations that are majority Muslim, because Donald Trump made comments in the past that they disagree with, I mean, Bree, jump in here. It seems to me that they're just going into this looking at a way to possibly disqualify it because they don't agree politically with the policy.
The judge was very careful, though, to say that wasn't going to ban it forever.
She called on me. Liz called on me. Hi, thank you. Liz called on me. Okay, so
go ahead.
It's very clear that what presidents say on the campaign trail, the way that they tout laws, the way that they describe laws are very different from the way that laws actually turn out in reality, right? And what judges have to do is they have to judge a law based on the actual text of what the law says and not what a president has said on the campaign trail, right? For a very recent example, we can look to what Justice Roberts said about Obamacare, right? On the campaign trail, Obama said a million times, this is not going to end up being a tax. The penalty is not a tax. It's not a tax. Justice Roberts ended up looking at the law, what the law actually said, and said, hey, yeah, this actually is a tax, and that's why it's constitutional. Okay, so what presidents say on the campaign trail are very different from the laws and executive orders and laws that they end up signing into effect. And it's the the judicial branch's job to look at the actual text of what the law says, not just what the person, you know, the personal things that a president has said on
not the intent, and not
so
to get
that's what I have a problem with.
Right, not to get too philosophical here, but I guess that's my role in this panel. It does seem to me funny that Democrats are okay with looking at the intent when it comes to laws that are put into place by Donald Trump, but when it comes to the Supreme Court and it comes to our founding documents, comes to our Constitution and how our framers set up our country, they're not okay with looking at their intent, which is limited government. Ladies, Gretchen, Bree, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was great to talk to you both.